$25 million wired in 15 transfers to 5 Hong Kong accounts, sent by a finance worker who, on a video call, had recognized his chief financial officer, recognized his colleagues, heard their voices. Every face on that call was fake. Every voice on that call was fake. The faces took weeks of careful rendering. The voices took an afternoon. The audio half of those scams is the easy half. This video is about why. Voice cloning is two problems pretending to be one. Capturing what makes a particular voice sound like that one human, and generating new audio that has those same fingerprints in it. Most people conflate the two. The conflation is what makes it feel like magic. Untangling the two halves is what makes the magic explainable. The first half is the listening problem. The second half is the speaking problem. Under the hood, they look almost nothing alike. One model has to learn what makes a voice different from every other voice on Earth. A different model, given the same words to say, has to produce fresh audio that has those exact differences. Start with the listening. The model is given a short clip of someone talking, 5 seconds, 10, sometimes 30. Out of that clip, it produces a single number, or rather a row of numbers. A few hundred of them lined up in a list. That row of numbers is the speaker embedding. The speaker embedding does not come from the main voice cloning model. It comes from a smaller, separate model that has been trained on tens of thousands of speakers. Its only job is to take a clip and produce a fingerprint that places the speaker in the right neighborhood. It does not know what was said. It does not care. This separation matters. The encoder is trained once on tens of thousands of voices. After that, the cost of taking on a new voice is the cost of running one short clip through the encoder. About 1/10 of a second of compute, 5 seconds of audio in, a few hundred numbers out. The rest of the system sees those numbers and goes to work. What makes one voice different from another is not one thing. It is the slope from one frequency band to the next. The shape of how one consonant flows into the following vowel. The pause patterns one speaker tends to put before stressed words. None of that is consciously controlled. All of it ends up in the embedding. A speaker embedding is, in this sense, a fingerprint of a human voice. A healthy adult voice barely changes much across a few seconds of natural speech. The same speaker an hour later still lands in roughly the same neighborhood of that space, which is why a 5-second clip is often enough to nail the cluster a voice sits in. 3 seconds, in some recent systems, has been enough. That fingerprint does not store the words. It does not store the sentences. It stores the shape of one vocal tract. Two strangers reading the same sentence land in different parts of that mathematical space. The same person reading two different sentences lands almost on top of each other. Now the second problem. The model has the fingerprint. The model has the words it needs to say. It has to produce raw audio, sample by sample. About 40,000 samples for every second of speech. There is no audio yet. There is only a fingerprint, a sentence in silence. Here is the modern trick. The model does not start with anything that sounds like speech. It starts with pure noise, white noise. The hiss of an old television when no station is on the channel. That noise has the right length, the right number of samples per second, but none of the right shape. How does the model know which way to push the noise? It was shown the inverse problem during training. Take a clean recording, add a little noise. Ask the network to predict what the original sounded like. Repeat that millions of times across millions of voices. The network ends up learning the gradient that points away from noise and towards speech. At inference time, the trained model walks that gradient backward. It looks at the noise, at the fingerprint, at the words it has been told to say, and pushes the noise, slightly, towards something that sounds a little closer to a human voice. Then it takes another step, then another. Each pass nudges the audio a little closer to recognizable speech. The reason this works is mathematical, but the intuition is simple. Asking a model to produce clean speech in one shot is asking it to learn an enormous, twisty function. Splitting the same job into many small steps lets each step learn a small adjustment. Easier to learn, more accurate. The price is wall clock. Many small steps means many trips through the network. Sculpting is exactly the right word for what is happening. A sculptor does not start by adding clay. The shape is already in the marble. The sculptor removes what is not part of the shape. The diffusion model works the same way. It does not add information to the noise. It removes the part of the noise that is not the speech. The model is not retrieving a recording. It is not stitching together prior audio. It is not interpolating between samples it has already heard somewhere else. It is generating fresh audio out of noise, conditioned on a fingerprint, told what to say. That is the whole trick. That is why the audio half is the easy half, static sculpted into a voice. That fact has a practical consequence. To clone a voice, the system never needs the original person to say the new sentence. It only needs 5 seconds of any speech from any setting, a podcast clip, a voicemail, a few seconds of a TikTok story. The cloning system fills in everything else. The receipts for what this can already do are not hidden in academic papers. In April of 2023, a song called Heart on My Sleeve appeared on streaming platforms. The vocals were cloned versions of Drake and The Weeknd. It racked up tens of millions of plays in days. Universal Music Group filed a takedown. 2 of the most distinctive voices in pop music, cloned by an anonymous user. A year later, in June of 2024, Microsoft Research published a system they called VALL-E 2. They claimed human parity on 0, shot cloning from 3 seconds of reference audio. Independent listeners, they reported, could not reliably tell the cloned voice from the real speaker. Then Microsoft chose not to release the model, citing misuse risk, a trained system, locked in a building. A few months later, the open source community caught up. A model called F5TTS, peer-reviewed at the Major Language Processing Conference in 2025, took the same diffusion path with a faster training objective called flow matching. Same shape of idea, fewer steps to walk. Audio at quality close enough to the closed labs that listeners struggle to call it. A second open source line, CosyVoice 2, came out of Alibaba late the same year. Different mechanism. A token language model that emits audio one piece at a time, the way a chat model writes a sentence one word at a time. The fingerprint still conditions the output. The architecture is different. Same destination. None of this is solved. The first place the technology still cracks is long-form prosody. After about 20 seconds of generated speech, many models begin to drift. The cadence wobbles. The pace slows or speeds up against the rhythm of the words. The same fingerprint that sounded uncanny at 4 seconds sounds tired at 30. The second crack is emotion. Most training data is calm read speech. Whispers, shouts, anger, grief, panic, all out of the distribution the model has ever been trained on. A clone can read a Wikipedia article eerily well. It cannot read a eulogy. It cannot read a love letter. The flatter the emotional range a sentence asks for, the closer the clone lands to the real thing. The third crack is what researchers have started calling the new uncanny valley. Almost perfect AI voices feel worse to listen to than overtly robotic ones. Listeners cannot always say what is wrong, but they know something is. The closer a clone gets to a real voice, the more the smallest mistake gives it away. The interesting question is not whether AI voices will keep getting better. They will. The interesting question is what happens to the conventions humans built around the assumption that hearing a voice on the line meant a human was nearby. $25 million in 15 transfers is what one office's worth of that assumption is worth.